Before we begin this journey into the deepest mysteries of the universe, make sure to subscribe and join us, because together we will keep exploring the unknown now. Let us begin. For thousands of years, humanity has looked up at the night sky, with wonder and with fear, asking a question that has never faded from our imagination. Are we truly alone in this vast universe, or is there something, someone, somewhere, waiting beyond the stars? The sky above us is not just a scattering of points of light, but billions of galaxies, each containing billions of stars, and around many of those stars may circle countless planets. Planets that may look like Earth, or planets so strange that our minds can barely imagine them. And yet, as small as we are, we have dared to ask the question: if life could emerge here, on this tiny world, why not elsewhere? Why not everywhere? Since the dawn of civilization, myths have spoken of beings from the skies. In ancient Mesopotamia, strange figures with wings and helmets were carved into stone, as if the gods themselves had descended to earth. In Egypt, the pyramids reached for the heavens, built with a precision that still puzzles us, while their gods were drawn with heads of animals and eyes like stars. In India, the Vedas describe flying chariots, the Vimanas soaring across the sky. And in the Americas, carvings showed figures in suits that looked like something we would today call spacesuits. Were these only stories, symbols, or memories of something our ancestors truly saw? But legends alone cannot answer the question. To know if we are alone, we turn to science, to telescopes that can see farther than the human eye ever could, and to mathematics that can measure the odds of life arising among the stars. When we look at the Milky Way galaxy, our home, we see more than 100 billion stars. Astronomers estimate that nearly every star has at least one planet, and many have several. That means there are possibly hundreds of billions of planets in our galaxy alone, and in the observable universe, trillions upon trillions more. If even a tiny fraction of those worlds are habitable, the chances that we are the only life seem almost impossibly small. Yet, despite this overwhelming probability, despite our search, despite decades of listening to the sky with radio telescopes, we have never found a single confirmed signal from intelligent life. This silence, this haunting silence, is what scientists call the Fermi paradox. If the universe is so full of stars, so full of planets, so full of possibilities, then where is everybody? Maybe they are too far away, separated from us by such immense distances that no message could ever reach us. Maybe they are so different from us that their signals are not in a form we recognize, their technology invisible to our eyes. Or maybe, more chillingly, civilizations rise, but do not last. They destroy themselves before they can ever spread among the stars. Could that be our fate too? Still, the silence has not stopped us from searching. In 1960, Frank Drake pointed a radio telescope at two nearby stars, hoping to catch a whisper of alien voices. He heard nothing, but he gave us the Drake equation, a way to estimate the number of civilizations in our galaxy. Scientists have debated its numbers for decades, but even the most cautious guesses suggest that we should not be alone. Our search has grown wider with time. The SETI project scans the skies with powerful arrays, listening night after night for a pattern, a signal, something artificial in the noise of the cosmos. And missions like Kepler and TESS have revealed thousands of exoplanets, worlds orbiting distant suns, some lying in what we call the habitable zone, where liquid water might exist, and where life, as we know it, could survive. Perhaps right now, light from an alien world is traveling across the void, a message in photons, but it has not yet reached us. Or perhaps it has passed, long before we learned how to listen. As we gaze into the sky, we cannot help but wonder what forms life might take if it exists beyond our world. Would they be like us, bound by carbon, water, and oxygen, with two eyes to see and hands to shape their tools? Or would they be something entirely different, creatures evolved under suns unlike ours, in oceans of methane or skies of hydrogen, with senses we cannot even imagine? Evolution on Earth has shaped life in countless strange ways, from creatures that live in boiling volcanic vents to organisms that survive frozen in ice, to beings that glow with light at the bottom of the sea. If life here can adapt to such extremes, what might alien life look like on distant worlds far more exotic than our own? Some scientists believe that microbial life may be the most common form of life in the universe. tiny, resilient, ancient, able to survive conditions that would kill larger organisms, and perhaps those microbes exist right now under the icy crust of Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, where oceans of salt water lie hidden in the dark, or on Enceladus, a small moon of Saturn, where geysers spray water vapor and organic molecules into space. If life exists there, it may be a glimpse into how common life truly is, and if it exists there, within our own solar system, then the universe beyond is almost certainly teeming with it. But what about intelligent life? What about civilizations? It is one thing to imagine microbes swimming in alien seas. It is another to imagine beings with thoughts, culture, language, and technology. If they exist, have they looked outward too, wondering about us, just as we wonder about them? Perhaps even now, on a planet orbiting a distant star, a civilization might be building its first telescopes, asking the same question. Are we alone? We might never know, because the stars are so far away. The closest star system, Alpha Centauri, is more than 4 light-years from Earth. That means even at the speed of light, a message would take years to travel between us. And for most stars, the distance is thousands, millions, even billions of years. Maybe we are like lonely islands in an ocean so vast that even if other islands exist, the waves between us are too wide to cross. Yet the human imagination has never been content with silence. We have told stories of aliens for centuries. In literature, in film, in art, we imagine them visiting Earth, sometimes as destroyers, sometimes as saviors, sometimes as teachers. These stories reveal as much about us as they do about the aliens we invent. They reflect our hopes, our fears, our insecurities. When we picture aliens as conquerors, perhaps it is because we know how easily we conquer one another. When we picture them as wise beings of peace, perhaps it is because we long for guidance. The possibility of contact is both thrilling and terrifying. If tomorrow we received a clear, undeniable signal from another civilization, the world would change forever. Religions, politics, economies, all would shift as humanity realizes we are no longer the only intelligence in the universe. But would such contact be safe? What if the ones who reach out to us are far more advanced? Would we be ants in their eyes, or equals? Many scientists caution that we should be careful, that broadcasting our presence into the cosmos may not be wise. Stephen Hawking once warned that meeting an advanced alien race might be as dangerous for us as it was for the native peoples of the Americas when Columbus arrived. History has shown that encounters between civilizations of unequal power often end in tragedy for the weaker side. And so, some argue, we should listen quietly, but not shout our existence to the stars. Others believe the risk is worth it, that hiding is impossible in the long run, because our planet already glows with the signatures of life and technology. The oxygen in our atmosphere is a beacon to anyone who looks closely, and our radio waves have already spilled out into space for a century. If there are ears listening, they already know we are here. So the question remains, if they are out there, why has no one come? Why no ships in the skies, no messages across the stars, no undeniable proof? Some suggest that civilizations may choose to remain silent, to observe us without interfering. The idea of the zoo hypothesis imagines that we are like animals, in a protected reserve, watched by more advanced beings who prefer not to disturb us until we are ready. Others imagine something darker, that the universe is quiet because it is dangerous to speak. Perhaps civilizations that reveal themselves are quickly destroyed by others, leading all survivors to remain silent. This could explain the eerie silence we hear when we listen to the stars. Still, hope lingers, for in every discovery of an exoplanet, every hint of water, every strange signal that turns out to be natural, we are reminded that science is still young, that we are still learning how to listen, how to look, how to understand. As we push forward, we build machines to take us further, probes like Voyager, carrying golden records with greetings in dozens of languages, drifting beyond our solar system, carrying a small part of humanity into the infinite. Telescopes like the James Webb, peering into the earliest galaxies, showing us the birth of stars, and perhaps one day, the signs of life on distant planets. Rovers like Perseverance, searching the dusty soil of Mars for traces of ancient organisms. Each step is small, but together they bring us closer to answering the question. And deep inside, we know that finding life would not only be a discovery of the universe, it would be a discovery of ourselves. For if we are not alone, then we are part of something greater. A community of beings across the stars, bound not by distance, but by the miracle of existence itself. Perhaps one of the most haunting thoughts is that the universe has existed for nearly 14 billion years, while humanity has existed for only a brief moment, less than a flicker in cosmic time. And if civilizations rise and fall across the stars, they may have already come and gone, leaving behind no trace we can see, their voices swallowed by time and distance, their monuments scattered to dust, their worlds circling stars that are now cold and dark. And in this endless cycle, we must ask, are we too early to meet them, or are we already too late? It is possible that intelligent life is exceedingly rare, not because life itself is rare, but because intelligence is fragile, self-destructive, always on the edge of collapse. Our own history is filled with wars, disasters, mistakes that almost ended our story before it truly began. And perhaps across the cosmos, countless civilizations rise only to fall, consumed by their own creations, their own greed, their own inability to protect the fragile balance that sustains them. And so the stars remain silent because intelligence cannot last long enough to reach across them. Yet, in spite of this, we search, because searching is in our nature. From the earliest humans who gazed at the sky with nothing but wonder, to modern scientists who build massive observatories, the question drives us forward. It fuels our imagination, it shapes our future. And as our technology grows, so too does our reach. We are beginning to scan the atmospheres of distant exoplanets, looking for chemical fingerprints of life, signs like oxygen, methane, and carbon dioxide existing together in ways that cannot be explained by simple geology. Someday, perhaps soon, we may find that unmistakable sign, the breath of alien life, etched into the spectrum of a faraway world. If that day comes, it will not be an end to our search, but the beginning of something even greater. Because then, we will ask, what kind of life is it? How does it live? How does it see the universe? And could it ever know us? Maybe we will find worlds filled with forests of crystal, or oceans alive with colors never seen on Earth, or skies where creatures soar with wings of plasma and light, and maybe they will never know we exist. Just as countless beings on Earth once lived and died without ever knowing of us, but deep down, there is a part of us that longs not just to discover, but to connect. To look into the eyes of another intelligence and know that we are not alone in the great dark. Would we understand them, or would their minds be so different that communication itself would be impossible? Dolphins and whales on Earth are intelligent, but we still struggle to fully understand their songs. So how could we hope to comprehend beings shaped by alien suns and alien histories? Perhaps true communication would require patience beyond generations, or perhaps it would happen instantly, as if some universal language of thought exists, waiting to be unlocked. Some imagine that aliens, if they exist, might already be here, unseen, unnoticed, observing us quietly. Stories of unidentified flying objects, mysterious encounters, strange signals, all feed into this possibility. Though science remains skeptical, the human heart cannot help but wonder, what if the silence is not silence at all, but simply our failure to hear correctly? What if the universe has been speaking to us in ways we cannot yet recognize? And then there is the mystery of the great filter, the idea that somewhere in the steps from simple life to intelligent civilizations that spread across the stars, there is a barrier so difficult that almost no one passes it. Maybe the barrier is behind us, and we are rare, one of the few to survive and rise. Or maybe it is ahead of us, waiting in our future, a challenge we have yet to face. Climate collapse, nuclear war, artificial intelligence, things we do not yet understand. If the great filter lies ahead, then perhaps the silence of the universe is a warning. Still, the beauty of this search is that it forces us to reflect on our own story, to ask what it means to be intelligent, what it means to survive, what it means to thrive, not just for a moment, but for ages. Maybe the true answer to "Are we alone?" is not just out there among the stars, but here, in how we choose to live, in whether we can prove that intelligence is not doomed to burn itself out. And as the Earth spins beneath the endless sky, as the Milky Way stretches above us like a river of light, we continue to listen, to imagine, to hope. Because even if the universe is silent, even if no one answers, the act of asking connects us. binds us across generations, reminds us that we are part of something greater, something vast and mysterious. And in that mystery there is wonder, and in that wonder there is meaning. There are many who believe that if life exists out there, it may not look anything like the life we know on Earth. Some imagine the so-called greys, small beings with large black eyes, frail bodies, and minds far more advanced than ours, often said to be the ones behind stories of abductions and sightings. Whether these tales are truth or imagination, they reveal our deep curiosity, our attempt to give shape to the unknown. Others speak of reptilian beings, tall and powerful, cold and calculating, perhaps born from worlds harsher than ours, where survival demanded strength above all else. And then there are visions of light beings, entities not made of flesh but of pure energy, existing in forms we cannot touch, only sense, living in frequencies beyond human perception, as though the universe itself had given thought to light. Some theories suggest that life could be silicon-based instead of carbon-based, built upon entirely different chemistry, creatures with bodies like crystals that grow and change, speaking in vibrations that resonate like music through stone. There are ideas of aquatic civilizations under the icy shells of moons like Europa or Enceladus, where oceans stretch for miles beneath the surface, warmed by volcanic vents, worlds where sunlight never reaches, and yet life might thrive in eternal darkness, guided not by vision but by sound, heat, and electric pulses. Others wonder if the beings we seek are not bound to planets at all, but exist in the vacuum of space itself, vast entities drifting among the stars, feeding on radiation, shaped like enormous clouds, invisible to our eyes yet alive in ways we cannot yet imagine. Or perhaps they exist in dimensions layered over our own, brushing against our reality only in fleeting moments, like shadows on the edge of perception. If this is true, then the question of "are we alone" may never be answered with certainty, because we may never fully perceive those who exist in planes we cannot touch. Still, the human imagination reaches even further, into the possibility of a multiverse, countless universes, each with their own laws of physics, their own stories, their own beings. In one universe, perhaps, intelligence never arose. In another, maybe civilizations have flourished for billions of years, spreading across galaxies, while in another, creatures unlike anything we could dream live and die under suns that burn with colors our eyes cannot even see. If the multiverse is real, then perhaps we are not only not alone, but surrounded by infinite others, separated not by distance but by the fabric of reality itself. Yet for all these grand possibilities, the most haunting thought is still the silence, the absence of proof. We send signals into the dark, we listen with radio telescopes, we scan the skies for patterns, and still there is no reply. Some call this the Fermi paradox, the contradiction between the high probability of alien civilizations and the complete lack of evidence for their existence. Why, in a galaxy so vast, do we hear nothing? Is it because they are too far, or because they choose to remain silent, or because intelligence has always been its own undoing? And yet, even silence speaks. Silence forces us to question ourselves, to look inward. Maybe the universe waits for us to prove we are ready, that we can cross the great distances, not just with technology but with wisdom, that we can rise above our own conflicts, our own divisions, and reach out not as conquerors but as companions. Imagine for a moment the first true contact, a signal, faint but undeniable, carrying patterns too complex to be random. At first, disbelief, then excitement, then a rush of wonder as humanity realizes that we are no longer alone. Nations would look up together, scientists would work side by side, people would dream as one. The discovery would reshape everything, our religions, our philosophies, our place in the cosmos. For centuries, humans have debated our meaning, our uniqueness, but in that moment we would know we are part of something greater, a chapter in a story far older than our species. Maybe contact would come not through machines, but through presence, a ship descending quietly, a craft unlike anything we could build, landing softly on a remote desert plain. From it, beings step forth, neither hostile nor fearful, but simply curious, as we are. The air would hold its breath, the world would stop for that single moment when eyes meet eyes across the gulf of stars. Would we embrace them as kin, or fear them as strangers? Would we share, or would we hide? Or perhaps they are already here, not in ships of metal, but as watchers, blending into the fabric of our skies, keeping distance until we are ready. Countless people tell of lights that move against the wind, of objects that appear and vanish, of encounters they cannot explain. While science seeks evidence, stories continue. Whispers in the night that hint at possibilities beyond our understanding. In every culture, in every age, humans have told stories of beings from the stars, gods who came from the heavens, spirits who descended in fire and light, teachers who gave knowledge and then returned to the sky. Maybe these were myths, or maybe they were memories, faint echoes of encounters long forgotten. If so, then the question is not whether we are alone, but whether we have ever truly been alone at all. There is another possibility that haunts the human mind, the thought that civilizations may rise and fall like waves upon the ocean, appearing briefly in the cosmic timeline before fading into silence. Perhaps the galaxy has been filled with voices, each shouting into the dark, only to vanish before another could hear. Civilizations may burn brightly for a time, harnessing their stars, shaping their worlds, but eventually destroying themselves through wars, through greed, through the inability to control their own power. If this is true, then we too may be one of those fragile voices, flickering against eternity, destined to fade before we ever meet another. And yet, some imagine civilizations so old, so advanced, that they have become like gods in our eyes, beings who could build structures the size of stars, who could reshape galaxies, who could move through space and time as easily as we cross a room. We call them Type 3 civilizations in the scale of possibility, rulers of energy on a cosmic level, their technology indistinguishable from magic. To such beings, humanity would be no more than an infant species, unaware of the vastness of the playground it inhabits. But would they even notice us? Or would we be like ants on the edge of their empire, too small to see, too insignificant to matter? The human spirit, however, refuses insignificance. We dream of building ships that can cross the gulf of stars, of leaving behind the boundaries of Earth to spread our presence to distant worlds. Perhaps the desire to find others is not only curiosity, but survival, the knowledge that to remain confined to one world is to risk extinction, to reach beyond is to live, to carry the story of humanity into the endless night. Sometimes, the answer to whether we are alone is sought not only in the stars, but in the mysteries of our own planet. There are those who believe that aliens may have visited Earth in ages past, guiding ancient civilizations, inspiring their architecture, their myths, their sudden leaps in knowledge. The Great Pyramids, the strange lines etched into deserts, the alignments of temples with the stars, all are seen by some as evidence of contact. Mainstream science explains these as human achievements, products of ingenuity and effort, but the possibility lingers in the imagination. What if we were not the only hands at work? And if they came once, could they come again? Or perhaps they never left. Perhaps they watched silently, waiting for humanity to take its next step, to prove that it is ready to join a larger community. Yet with wonder comes fear. What if those we meet are not kind, not peaceful, but driven by needs we cannot understand? Some imagine them coming not as friends, but as conquerors, seeking resources, territory, or simply dominance. In such a vision, humanity would face its greatest trial, a test of unity and survival against beings far beyond us. But even this, fear speaks of our own nature, for often when we imagine others, we see reflections of ourselves, of our own history of conquest and struggle. Still, the universe may hold surprises beyond both fear and hope. Perhaps alien life would not even recognize us as intelligent, or we them. Our forms of communication may be so different that understanding is impossible, like two ships passing in the night without ever knowing the other was there. But silence does not mean absence, and absence does not mean solitude. In every twinkling star lies a possibility, in every galaxy a chance. We look up, we wonder, we search, and though we do not yet have an answer, the question itself is enough to unite us. The search for life beyond Earth is more than a scientific quest. It is a reflection of who we are, curious, fragile, hopeful beings, staring into the infinite night and asking if somewhere, someone stares back. Maybe the answer will come tomorrow, maybe in 1,000 years, or maybe never at all. But until then, the silence itself becomes part of the mystery, a reminder of both our loneliness and our courage. To look into the universe and wonder is to be human. To listen for voices in the dark is to admit that we are not afraid of what we might find. And whether the answer is yes or no, whether we are alone or among many, the journey of seeking is what defines us. So each time you look up at the stars, remember that you are part of this great question, part of this search, and in that search, in that endless reaching toward the unknown, humanity finds not only the possibility of others, but the truth of itself.